Well, we have a lot of questions for you, and let's start right off. What does the Veloster brand do for Hyundai?
Obviously, it supercharges our youth image, right? It's really important today the brands stay youthful and exciting, and Veloster is really our hallmark product aimed at doing just that, to bring a more youthful image to the Hyundai brand.
Do you think it's going to attract some new buyers too to the Hyundai brand as well?
Yes, we hope so, and that's always the plan. This kind of excitement, this kind of product lineup is really the heartbeat and the spear of what we do every day in marketing, which is build more organic demand for the brand, and we think the Veloster will be one of those products that really drives that in spades for us.
Now, we saw a little tease of some of those marketing strategies. Give us some more details, because these are great. I'm excited about them.
Well, and thank you. I mean, Forza for Veloster is the hallmark there. We're excited. It's how we started Veloster years ago with that partnership. We also believe in this community. This community is very youth-oriented, and it really is the spear when we drive all these partnerships, because getting this car in front of that gaming and that entertainment audience is great. And so the Forza partnership is very welcomed with that.
I'm excited about a little strategy when it comes to Ant-Man and the Wasp, too.
Yes, you can't beat going to the movies and getting your car front and center. And we think with the Marvel partnership, with our product, and you can see that on the floor today, with the popularity of that franchise, Ant-Man, we think it's going to be 1 + 1 = 5 for us there.
One final question, the N brand. How are you going to communicate this? Because this is so exciting. It's actually right here behind us as well.
Yes, that's going to be another exciting layer in this youth compartment with us, getting more performance-oriented vehicles in the stable and getting more and more of that on the street. I think we're excited about that, and that will only help turbocharge even further our brand.
Well, this is going to be an exciting year here at Hyundai. Thank you so much for sharing all of your inside scoop. We always appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. All right, we promised you more, and that's exactly what you're getting, because we have the Vice President of Product Planning here at Hyundai Motor America, Mike O'Brien. Come on in, Mike. Good to see you.
How are you doing today?
I am terrific, and I am thrilled about this, because I want to know from your perspective, when you are going and taking a look at what you're going to be doing in the future, what made you decide to do another generation of the Veloster?
That's very easy, and you touched on it with the word generation. One word is millennials. So by 2020, less than 2 years away, millennials will be the #1 age buyer group for new light vehicles, and we can't forget that. So we have to be thinking about a product lineup that's suitable for the young buyers now that are growing up to an age where they're going to be in the largest buyer group for light vehicles. And so this is really all about them. This is about a vehicle, when I approach it as a driver, I see a personal vehicle for me. When I want to take my friends and some stuff with me, from approaching it from the passenger side, it's a car with great utility and accessibility. So it really answers the needs for young millennial drivers that want something that's very engaging to drive, it's very personal, and it's for them.
Oh, I love that. And you were successful with the first generation, correct?
We were very successful. It's actually the youngest buyer group of any of our Hyundai models were Veloster buyers. So we did a very good job of bringing in new buyers, new people to Hyundai that hadn't purchased one before, but particularly new people in terms of entering the light vehicle market.
Well, I always like talking about safety, because Hyundai is always at the forefront of it, and I know that the automatic emergency braking is going to be a big part of the Veloster. Is this going to be on all trim levels?
Just less than a couple of years ago, forward collision braking, automatic emergency braking was only available really in luxury cars, but we have made forward collision assistance, forward collision warning, and emergency braking standard equipment on the Veloster. So now, no matter what model Veloster you buy, we're going to have forward collision assist auto emergency braking system available. It's a standard feature for those buyers.
Ah, fantastic. I also have to ask about the R-Spec model. Are we going to have it in this generation?
Oh yes, and I have to tell you, what an exciting car. When you just think about Albert Bierman and our performance group have brought so much in terms of feedback and dynamics and just utter performance, both corner performance as well as acceleration and handling performance.
It sounds like you might have driven the vehicle, have you?
I have, and I have to tell you, I am so excited. I cannot wait to have one that I could take home. It is such an engaging car to drive, and I have a reputation for loving cars that are engaging to drive, but I have to tell you, this car has it all. It has torque vectoring control, it has amazing power output, it has amazing grip, it has an amazing suite of performance features that will really make it an engaging car for drivers.
Fantastic. Thank you for that insight on that. Jim also spoke about driving it, and I have a feeling both of you will have one in your driveway.
I have a feeling we'll be fighting over the car when it first arrives.
I'm seeing that already. Mike, thank you so much. Good to see you. Appreciate it. All right, and you know, we always know that it is never complete unless we have the designer here, and we have the Senior Chief Designer, Chris Chapman, to give us all the inside scoop. I want to hear about this. Chris, I'm going to grab you right now. Good to see you.
How are you?
Great presentation today.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You feeling good? It looks great up there.
Excited. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a fun car, you know?
Yeah, well, and that's what I want to ask. You know, when you come to the Veloster and you know that you're doing another generation, what is exciting those designers when they're really just working on paper to start out?
Well, when you have a great movie to start out with, right, making the sequel is a lot harder, right? So you have to kind of go back to the drawing board several times, as Min-Chul Koo had mentioned, you know. It's not an easy task, but I'm a big believer in doing overlays and readdressing and actually getting it to a level where you think you're finished and then you actually scrap it all away and then start all over again. And I think the designers respond to that kind of challenge a lot more than when they're just sort of going into the next generation of a known product. The first generation Veloster set sort of a tone, it set sort of a bar at a pretty high level, and it's a funky car, you know, it's a fun, funky car, and it was for Gen Y. And I think, you know, recently you hear a lot about, you know, disruptors and disruption and things like that. Well, I think in the design community, in the design world, we've been kind of living that all our lives. So when we get to design a project like this, everybody jumps on board and wants to make the most interesting, most iconic car, you know, possible.
Well, that's a great question, because here's what I want to know. When you already have a cutting edge design for the first generation, the pressure really is on for the second one. What were the biggest challenges for the designers?
Well, I think that when you're starting with a good architecture, and I know this sounds kind of vague a little bit, but I'll explain this in a second. You know, there's like three parts to design. There's proportion, there's surface, and there's detail. And we always talk about that. Proportion is kind of everything, and when the first generation car came out, it had a unique silhouette to the car, it had a unique stance to the car. Everybody kind of looked at it and was wondering, is it a coupe, is it a hatchback, what is it? It was like nothing else on the road, right? So when you start with that kind of basis and a foundation and that kind of proportion, that's 98% of design. Surfacing, designers are really good at putting lines in places or whatever, but surface and detail, that's the easy stuff. The big challenge is when you're working with engineers to try to get a proportion that's really kind of iconic. Well, when we had this one, the base proportion was already kind of set. So from that point on, it was just kind of like free reign in terms of experimenting with the sculpture and trying to get an expressive car that could offer kind of an iconic you know, break away from, as I mentioned, the sea of sameness that's really kind of out there on the automotive landscape.
Well, I love that 2+1 door. I mean, that whole design is really unique.
I love asymmetry. I'm a big fan of asymmetry. I love things that are slightly shifted. It's kind of like, you know, when you're standing there either kind of straight up like this or whatever, or you're kind of like casual confidence with kind of a baseball cap turned backwards, lean back. It kind of has this kind of a shift. And I think the 2+1 door configuration was successful for us in the first round. We've decided to continue it along because we heard a lot of positive feedback from our customers and our owners relative to being the driver feeling like they're driving a cool sports coupe. And then at the same time, they offer that kind of utility aspect to the curbside, offloading, onloading, in and out, quick drop off of people, pickup of people kind of thing. They're on the move, you know, and they don't like to sort of stand still for any period of time. So that 4-door or the 2-door configuration on the curbside really kind of offered that quick getaway kind of a feeling.
It makes a lot of sense, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, it really does, and again, it's a challenge for the designers and engineers because we're dealing with slightly different structure, and that also then translates to the interior of the car because it kind of gives a different space. We always talk about driver orientation on the instrument panel, but when you're talking about a single door on one side and 2 doors on the other side, it also kind of gives this framing, if you will, of the entire environment that extends beyond the instrument panel.
I have to ask, and I always like to know this,
Oh boy.
What is your favorite aspect of the Veloster?
I love funky cars. I mean, as a designer and as a student of design, I'm looking for something that is going to bring something different onto the road. And I think that for this particular customer, we want to keep them fresh. We want to keep them young. We want to keep them feeling alive and pumped and ready to go. I mean, we all want to just drive this car. I want to get back to fun. I want to get back to driving. I want to get back to that exhilarating feeling that, you know, when you open up the garage door and you see this thing sitting there, it's kind of alive and it's kind of waiting for you to say, okay, where are we going today? It's a partner in life, and with such great character and great personality, this is what the car offers.